a listener production.
Hey, I'm Antoinette Lattouf, and this is the Weekend Briefing, where we hit pause on the news cycle and we get to know the humans behind the headlines. And today, well, buckle up because we've got the one and only Guenther Steiner. He's not just an F1 boss, he's an American-Italian motorsport legend. And whether you know him from the pit wall or as the guy from Netflix Drive to Survive who's the most unfiltered, one thing's for sure, he is never boring. Now, with his signature wit and, yes, a few F-bombs, obviously, Guenther is back in Australia to tell his story his way. So we get into it all, how F1 is attracting a younger global audience while other sports are struggling, why it's been 50 years since a woman last competed in Formula One, and whether you ever really adjust to life outside the high-pressure, high-speed world of racing. I also test his knowledge on a bit of Aussie vernacular when it comes to cars. And later in the show, it is the weekend list, and that's where my producer extraordinaire, Helen Smith, joins me, and we share what we've been watching, cooking, listening to, doing, and every other quirky thing we've been getting up to fill our time. You won't want to miss that. But first, Guenther Steiner, let's go.
Go, go, go!
Guenther, welcome back to Australia. Welcome to the Weekend Briefing.
Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
So in the early stages of your career, I'm not sure that many people would know this, but you started as a mechanic. How often is it that somebody can make that trajectory from mechanic, working on rally cars, before landing a top job in the Formula One?
I think it's very difficult, and I'm not saying it because I did it. It's just the times changed. We also have to say this was in 1986,
Yes.
So a little bit before your time. The world was a different place in that sense. Especially motorsports was a place. It was not really organized. It was more like it was a passion. You did it, and if you could make a living out of it, you were lucky. And that's what I did. And from there, I just worked my way along and up.
And what's the biggest lesson you learned in the garage that you think still applies to running a race team?
I think it's is to stay always true to yourself. Always what you do. Speak to the people around you. Be open about things. Never try to be smarter than anybody else. Just try to work together and just always do the best you can. And I always say it like this, every job I do, I put the best I can into it. Sometimes it's not good enough, and you have to live with it because sometimes other people are better. But that is not. It doesn't mean that you have to give up. You just have to try again.
You did mention, though, starting your career in the Formula One in the 80s, it was a very different landscape then because now it's far more competitive. There are only 20 driver seats available, so it's notoriously exclusive. So beyond raw talent, to make it to the grid, how much is financial backing a factor?
I mean, for a driver, it is important, and you need money to do this as a driver. But if you're good, if you've got the talent, normally there is a way. If you've got the talent and the passion and you keep on pushing, you can find the money because talent is spotted because the big teams, they're looking for the raw talent out there. They've got scouts out there. It's nothing different than football. It's just like you can make it, but obviously if you've got money, it helps you to get to places quicker.
But do we have any kind of working class examples of people who just had talent? We'll talk about the drivers particularly who are able just to have talent and be scouted. Because to me, as an outsider, it seems like it is a sport and a competition where it is far less likely, or I dare say unlikely, to have nothing and then make something.
I think one of the big examples is Lewis Hamilton. I mean, his family was a very normal family, and he ended up to being 7 times world champion. I think there's quite a few. Esteban Ocon, his family, they mortgaged their house to pay for the son to go racing. Pierre Gasly, there's quite a few which are middle class. I wouldn't say that it's people coming with nothing, but middle class. There is a good chance that you make it.
There's a huge amount of pressure involved in Formula One, and I often heard you talk about the concept of positive pressure as opposed to negative pressure. Can you break down the difference for us?
positive pressure is if you have to deal with something that you want to achieve something, you getting an opportunity and make the best out of it. Negative pressure for me is when you are in survival mode, when you have to do something just to keep on going. And it's very clear. If positive pressure, if you can start, like for me, starting an F1 team up is a big challenge. It's pressure, but it's positive because I know I can make it happen. And negative is something where you just need to somehow get by, steer into a safe haven just to survive, not as a human to survive, I mean, in a business to survive or something like this. So that is the big difference for me. And positive pressure for me is like something, it excites me, it gets me going. While negative, it still gets me going because I still have to sort the problem out. But there would be easier solutions but you don't have them in the moment, so you have to navigate them.
I wonder if there have been moments in your career where you haven't been able to tell whether you're working under negative pressure or positive pressure and how you break through that.
Absolutely, you're right. Sometimes you don't realize anymore what it is it positive or negative? Because you could put every negative into a positive, in my opinion. Because say if you're fighting for something, not as a human to survive, but as a business to survive, that can end up positive because you make it, But it's just one of these things, and you don't realize anymore what you're doing if it's positive or negative. And there it's just like, I want to achieve this. Then you put it into that positive, So you just need to always fight hard for it.
You have been called Formula One's unlikeliest star because you're not a driver, you're the son of a butcher, you're not a billionaire team owner, yet you became the face of Haas and a fan favourite. How do you wear that label, or how do you respond to that label, Formula One's unlikeliest star?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Not at
Nothing?
all. No, nothing. It just, for me, it's a thing which happened, which I didn't get up one day and said, I want to be this, what I ended up to be. I just want to be a job, do what I like to do is working with racing cars, work in motorsports. And then at some stage, I got this personality, which, it wasn't my dream to be. It just happened to me. So I ended up in this position, and obviously, I'm not unhappy about it, but I'm not, I'm saying I achieved something. No, it happened to me. So, if people like it, I'm fine with it. But I would have no problem if people wouldn't like it,
So when you say you ended up with this personality, do you mean the media personality following the Netflix series? Or
correct, this personality which people like. I mean, my personality didn't change. I was always the same. You can go and speak with people which know me since 40 years. I haven't changed and will not change because now I'm too old to change, you see.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get have a bit of a listen to the personality that helped gain you notoriety.
He does not fox smash my door.
You cannot swear now.
Yeah, I cannot swear now.
No, you cannot.
You're not allowed because you're a good Brazilian. I'm wheeling and dealing in the moment. You need to stay alive.
How do you sum up your season then this year?
It's one short word. Shit. Fucking sick of answering these fucking stupid questions on a race weekend. I mean, I've never seen any fucking thing like this,
Just following fucking entries fucking thing.
That was a good fight, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I was shitting myself. Fuck. 4th and 5th, but Gene, we finished 4th and 5th here. We fucking look like rock stars, huh? And now we are a fucking bunch of wankers. Yeah, bunch of fucking clowns here in the sun, huh?
You want an umbrella?
Yeah, fuck off. That would hurt my ego,
So it's fair to say that you're motorsport's favourite foul-mouthed personality, but you still maintain you haven't watched any of the highly successful Netflix series. Why is that?
When it came out, there was an F1 commission meeting, which is the 10 team principals, the president of the FIA and the CEO of F1. And I walked into to the meeting room, and these people had seen it the night before the premiere, and I wasn't there because I flew in from the States to London. I hadn't seen it, and I walked into this meeting room, and everybody had an opinion about it. They were speaking about this, what I did there, and that was like, as I said, I didn't expect this. This was the first year of the series, and I was like almost taken away with it. It's like, wow, what are they talking about? And I was like, did they really show this in this film, because I know what they were talking about because I was there when they filmed it, they filmed me.
Did you kind of forget the cameras were on?
I didn't care.
Ah, right, okay.
Because you picked up on the right thing. That is what I didn't want to do, that when I see a camera that I change.
Yes.
So if I watch it, if I'm an actor, I maybe would watch myself to get better next time. I'm not an actor.
Okay.
I didn't want to change. So as you just said, did you not know the cameras were on? Yeah, I knew, but I didn't care. And I wanted to continue to live my life by not caring if a camera is around or not. So that's why I decided not to watch it. So I'm not getting, a camera is around, I need now to be somebody else. I don't want to be somebody else. I want to be me. I want to have this freedom in life to be who I am, So I decided not to do it. And there is another advantage when people ask me, did you see what you said there and try to debate it if it was right or wrong? I say, I'm sorry, I didn't see it, so I cannot debate it. It's an easy way out of it, but
even if it came out of your mouth.
Yeah, exactly. But
I don't
sometimes
remember
people, but yeah, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see it how they showed it.
Right.
So it is not an excuse. It's just like because I don't want to overthink these things. It's like I know that I said them. They put them out there, and I know that I'm not swearing at people, calling them names. I use the word because English is not my first language, as you can clearly hear.
It's your third, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my third. Yeah. So it's that's why I didn't watch it, and I don't want to watch it and overthink it. I see a camera, I have to behave different, and if I start to behave different, I don't remember the next time how I behaved the last time, and then it's just life is getting too difficult then.
Okay, so it's fair to say that by not watching it, you were able to be your most authentic, uninhibited and honest self.
Exactly. That is the better word,
I love that. Did you expect, though, or did anybody expect that Drive to Survive would not only do well on Netflix, but that it would actually engage or tap into a Formula One audience that it didn't have prior, or at least grow the Formula One audience?
I think the aim was that, but I think now obviously a lot of people will tell you, the people which did it, I knew this was coming. I don't think anybody was really expecting this one because it never happened in any sport like this, So I think they did a fantastic job. Whoever had the idea of it was good. The company which did the series did a fantastic job in what they did. And is the first year, two teams, Mercedes and Ferrari, didn't take part because they thought there's no need to take part. Because it's not going to be successful anyway. The second year, they couldn't wait to be part of it because it was so successful. So a lot of credit for the people which had the idea. But even them, I don't think they could see that it makes such a big difference. And as you said, the demographic changed of the viewers, the additional demographic, because before it was, motorsport was a little bit middle-aged men, which were watching it, And then Drive to Survive comes out, the demographic, a lot of young people and a lot of female.
Yeah, and I'm included. I don't even know how to reverse park, and I can't tell most cars apart on the street. Like if you said to me, point out a Mercedes, I could not point out a Mercedes. I watched Drive to Survive. I'd literally be your most unlikely viewer. I can't park a car.
Okay.
And I watched. So,
Mercedes is the 3-star, is the team with the star on it. So you remember that one. I understand that. And but there is, I think always in F1, there is so much going on. And that was the problem before. A lot of people thought it's 20 or 22 cars going around in circles, on a racetrack. And the fastest car wins. And then that's it. But watching Drive to Survive, you can see that there is a lot of drama, there is a lot of technology, there is a lot of politics, there's a lot of things going on. And that's what people is interested in. So F1 gives people entertainment between Sundays as well, not only on the racetrack. It gives entertainment around it, with all the personalities and all the things which are happening.
Now, as you alluded to, the average Formula One fan is now 32 years old. It's younger than the typical NFL and NBA player, also appealing to more women. I want to talk about women because this is a bit of a 50-year-old question because no woman has started a Formula One Grand Prix since Leila Lombardi in 1976. Like, why do you think this is?
I think it's pretty clear why this is, because it was a male-dominated sport, and it's not about the talent. I think you can find driving talent in females like you can find in men. There's nothing to do with physically the talent of driving. Obviously, you need to be prepared because they're physical, these cars, to drive over the distance, but you can train for that. A female can train for that. It is because very few girls go into the grassroots of go-karting, to start go-karting. And if you take, let's say, and this number is completely made up, don't quote me on it, there's 1,000 girls and 100,000 boys, where it's easier to find a talent. in 100,000 boys because it's just numerically, it's just a numbers game. And what needs to be done, that more girls start racing from a young age onwards. And I think that is now happening. There's a big effort behind it with the F1 Academy. It's a program tailored that girls can get into, and it gives girls also a potential way of life to make a living, because if you do something in life, you need to have, where do I want to go? I want to go to F1 Academy, and sooner or later, out of a F1 Academy, there will be an F1 driver, a female driver, obviously, coming out. But will it be in the next 2 years? Maybe not, or pretty sure not, because we need time. There is generations and generations lost of girls which didn't go into racing, and we need to start somewhere. But now with a clear path given to the girls, I think there should be more interest. So I always say when people ask me that, all the mothers now should try to push the girls to go-karting, because if they like it, you should try to support them, and then somebody will find the talent in a girl and take it to F1. But it will take time because it is difficult, but it's nothing different than any other sport.
And there are other ways to make careers because, as I understand, Haas F1 is making history. It's hired its first female race engineer this year. What are the other ways in which women can enter the F1?
Yeah, there is. I mean, engineers. There is no difference between a man and a woman being an engineer, in my opinion. There is, and that is has changed a lot in the last, I would say, 10 years. That there is not seen a girl can get into Formula One in whatever job is there. And I'm saying there is nothing. A girl cannot do what a man can do in F1. It's just like, it's again a culture. They need to be more interest, because it's the same with engineers. There is, and I don't know the ratio, but there is for sure a lot more men studying engineering than women, so obviously to find the talent in a smaller pool is more difficult. That for the moment there is not as many engineers there, but like strategists, race strategy, I would say there is a third of them are female or were female, and then they changed, things like this, because there is 2 now which are on Sky TV being commentators. They were both strategists for F1 teams, because they move on as well, but there's new ones coming behind them. So I don't think it's just a question of time until is it a 50-50, a 30-70, I don't know. But there is more and more coming. And I always was in the opinion, because at some stage I was like, why are women paid less? And wherever I worked, I said, I never pay a woman less than a man. I pay the job. It's not about, if you're a woman or a man. It's about if you can do the job. If you can do the job, you get paid what the job pays.
I want to stick with Haas. I did mention the Haas engineer, or the first female engineer. You were able to pitch the idea and then launch a new team in 2016 without even a PowerPoint presentation. How did you make a pitch? What did you use?
I just used printed paper. It was a PowerPoint, but it wasn't on a computer. It was, I just gave out, like in the good old days, a printed copy of it. But it was very, because at the time, now things have changed again here. At the time, an F1 team, you could not sell or convince somebody to do an F1 team. What you could do is to tell somebody who wanted an F1 team that I basically can do it, and how I would do it. That's the only thing I could pitch. Because at the time, F1 teams were losing money, big money every year, and it was just more a passion for rich people or big corporates which could afford it. That has changed. Now every F1 team is worth at least $1 billion, so it has changed. But at the time, it was just like, okay, I can explain you how you can get to F1 and be successful, but I don't want to convince you, because if you ask me the finances for it, I can tell you don't do it. But if you want to do it, I know how to do it. And that worked, yeah. I found it, yeah. I found the investor, yeah.
And it worked for a few years until there was a difference of minds, or there was I wouldn't say the most acrimonious breakup. Where did things end up?
Now, we had the mediation a few weeks ago, and we agreed to agree both our ways, and wished each other happy future.
Well, for those who haven't been following closely, could you give us a top-line summary of how that relationship soured.
In the end, we were in a different opinion, the team owner and me, how to go forward. And obviously, the team owner is right because he owns the team. So, in the end, it ended that I left the team.
And so since leaving the team, you've written books, you've moved to commentary. How is it adjusting to life outside of the pit?
Very good. And adjusting, it was always... for me, actually, I wanted, when I left, I did it for 10 years. I said, I take it a little bit easier for a year. I've got enough going on in my life. I've got my own company. I had it before. I have it since 15 years. And I was like, I'm spending a little bit more time with the family, and do all the good things. And the day it was announced that I left the team, I got offers. I don't want to sound arrogant, but left, right, and center. Can you do this? Would you like to do this? And it was like, wow. And I said to everybody, give me a few weeks at least to think about what I want to do, because in the moment I want to do nothing.
Yeah.
So and then he came, and last year I did TV. I went to half of the races as a TV expert, commentator, pundit, whatever you want to call it. And I'm doing. I did my second book, with the ghostwriter. I went around in the UK to do a book tour, which was very successful. Therefore, we replicated here in Australia. We do 10 shows. I'm very busy, but I'm enjoying it. And again, I was lucky in my life. I always, most of the time, because you cannot say always, nothing is perfect. But I did jobs which I like to do, which I didn't have to do, and that's a big advantage, because if you do a job which you do not want to do, you cannot be good at it. That's my opinion. You need to like what you're doing, and I like what I'm doing. So I keep on doing it until I don't like it anymore, or I do something different, which I like better.
From what I'm hearing from you and also what I've read, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've done a job and worked your way into another job that you enjoy without necessarily having a clear trajectory. Is that a fair summation? Or did you know, there are some people who are like, at 22, I knew I wanted to launch an F1 team, or I knew I was going to be an author. For you, have these things just happened and eventuated?
Yes, you're absolutely right here. You got that right. But that was my whole career. I never put myself... At this age, I need to be here. At this age, I want to be doing this. No, it all went gradually. I stopped doing this, then I did the next thing, and they all happened. And for sure, I was lucky as well, always to be, or a few times being at the right place at the right time. You need to be there. But I think by keeping a positive attitude about things, that helps a lot. I never panicked about anything. If a opportunity arose, I took it. I said, let's try to do this. I moved to the United States in 2006 with Red Bull. I split up with Red Bull after 1.5 years. I wanted to stay in the States. I decided to open up my own company, and because I had a vision, I saw an opportunity. And we started with 4 people. Now we have, because I say we, my business partner and myself, we've got a company employing over 250 people. It's like, again, I see opportunities and then I take them as well. So it's one of the things. But you need to be lucky as well, and I give that credit as well, the luck.
So I'm curious, what's the first car you ever drove?
It was a Fiat 124. You don't know what that one was.
I know what a Fiat is. They're quite popular in Europe.
Yeah, not so much anymore. They were in the good old days, you know. But a 124 is like, it's a square car, as square as you like.
We call them a shitbox here.
Yeah.
Have you heard that Aussie expression, a shitbox?
Yeah.
Okay, so Fiat would have been a bit of a shitbox.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy driving now?
My pickup truck, I live in North Carolina now. When in Rome, behave like a Roman, know.
Okay.
So
have you driven an electric car?
I have driven electric cars, yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's a technology. I think cars these days, electric or combustion engine, most of them are good now. There's very few shitboxes around anymore, So
to use our expression, very
exactly,
well adopted.
Yeah. So I think they're all good cars. technology-wise, because that is your next question, what you think about the future of. I think electric will be part of it. I don't think it will be the ultimate solution to everything. There will be more than one technology adapted for the future, and electric will be part of it.
Did you have a dream car? Like I hear even my little kids and they're girls saying, I want this car. I want to drive this car. I want to own this car. Did you always have a dream car?
Yeah, maybe yes. I always wanted to have a Porsche at some stage. I bought myself a Porsche when I was 40 years old, and I had it for 2 years, and then I moved to the States and I sold my Porsche.
You got a pickup truck.
Yeah, exactly. I got a pickup truck. Then I got my next dream car, which I wasn't aware in Europe that they exist, because a pickup truck when I came to the States, the interior was as big as my living room, So you've got girls, you just said.
I do. I have daughters and they talk about cars and the cars they want to drive.
Are they go-kart?
No, they don't. They don't go-kart.
You should take them go-karting, You should. Because maybe they are the next talent, You need to bring them out there. Give them the opportunity. It's not somebody else, always to leave it to somebody else. All the mums need to take their daughters to go-karting.
That's right. We could help cultivate the next Formula One
You
star.
have to, exactly.
So you're in Australia touring your stage show. What can people expect?
It's a show. I'm doing it with the ghostwriter of my books. We do them together. He's the MC, obviously, and he knows what to ask me, what not to ask me, and sometimes he even asks what not to ask, So we keep it quite live because, and he's just talking about my career in motorsport. Things happened to me, and also how I started off the Haas F1 team and how it ended. We talk a little bit about everything. There's also a good sense of humor in it. It's not just humoresque, it's serious stuff as well, but we keep it quite lightly sometimes.
Thank you so much for joining the Weekend Briefing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
If you want to spend an evening with Guenther Steiner, do check out his new live show, Unfiltered. This month he'll be in Sydney, Newcastle, Melbourne, Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane and Gold Coast. And if you haven't already, it is worth grabbing a copy of his book by the same name. Unfiltered. Tickets for the live show can be bought via fane.com.au. So that's fane.com.au. It is weekend list time. It is personally my favourite time of the weekend because I get to pick Helen's curious, sometimes wacky brain about what it is that she's been getting up to.
All right. Hello, Antoinette. My first recommendation is a podcast by the BBC. It's called Stalked. Now, it's about this lady, Hannah Mossman Moore, and pretty much throughout most of her 20s, she was stalked relentlessly. And I'm talking bombarded on her mobile phones, emails, to the point where she had to change her number so many times. The stalker found her again. They don't know if it was one person stalking her, multiple people. So it's pretty wild.
So like online stalking and like...
Online, and also knew her locations, where she was moving. I'm talking moving countries as well.
Oh, wow. And this is a true story?
True story,
yeah,
by the BBC, and it's co-hosted by actually almost her ex-stepmother, who's a BBC journalist.
Okay.
And they're still very close. And it all started from a London fashion week after she met this seemingly high-flying businessman whose name is Kin. And honestly, he got her into fashion show after parties, really big name events. This guy seemed really well connected, and the episodes are still dropping as we speak. There's 6 episodes up at the time of recording, and it's so fascinating. It is a bit, it's a bit dark sometimes, the emails and threats, some of them that she got, accusing her of being a sex worker or an escort. And it got to the point where her family members were also being contacted by these stalkers or these hackers. It's pretty intense, but it's such a good bit of journalism. It's really well done. I love the sound scope of the podcast, and I'm fascinated to see how it goes because it really taps into this personal data and AI and hacking spy softwares that people can put on your phone without you even knowing.
Yeah.
So it's really zeitgeisty, really current.
Yeah, and I know a little bit about that because in the past year I have gone to like an independent security company and had my phone checked because I thought that my phone had been hacked into. I've had bots directed at my website. There's a whole different way, a virtual way, which is really pervasive because it's, following you down the street is terrifying, of course. But feeling that your every online interaction or location, which is often linked to your online interaction, is followed, is really watched and all-encompassing.
Completely.
So that's interesting and terrifying. What do we know about this woman that's being stalked? Is she just like a regular person? Is she a...
Yep, so she is a fashionista. She actually has her own jewelry line, and she was just a young intern at the time in the fashion world. And she met this guy, and it kind of went from there. At the start of the story, he was being hacked, and then it kind of flipped to her being hacked. So it's a bit complicated, and it's honestly, it's bizarre. The whole story is bizarre. So you're in for a treat, but it's also really makes you rethink about who you're letting into your life, who has your number, who has your digital contacts, and but it got to the point where her family was being targeted, and also people were impersonating her online. So it's an amazing, tragic story, I'd say.
Okay, Stalked on BBC, a podcast. So my recommendation is on Apple TV. It's a psychological thriller, but unlike your recommendation, this one is pure fiction. It follows Sophie, and she attempts to piece her life together after a traumatic incident where she either fell or jumped off a ferry, leaves her with amnesia. So she has no memories whatsoever. So she wakes up in this life and she has no memories of who her best friend is. She has a husband that she doesn't remember. She doesn't remember anything. And there's someone or more than one person lying to her when she wakes up. And she really can't trust anyone because she has no gut instinct about who anybody is.
Totally.
And so she's kind of being played from every side. And so the whole time I'm watching it, I'm screaming, "He pushed her! He did it! Don't trust her!" So I'm heavily invested.
Yeah.
It's also made by Hello Sunshine, which is Reese Witherspoon's production company. And I feel like I really enjoy everything she touches.
Same.
It did come out, season 1 came out in 2022. I didn't even know about it. I guess the reason it popped up for me is now season 2 began airing February this year. I did have a look on Rotten Tomatoes and it got terrible score on Rotten Tomatoes. So I don't know what's going on or if I'm just in the minority who enjoyed it. And I say it's not going to win an Emmy, but it's really worth watching. The lead performance by Guga Mbatha-Raw, she's compelling, she's amazing, as she's trying to kind of piece her life back together and unravel the truth. It's shot really beautifully. It's shot in San Francisco, so it's like a bit of a visual delight. Yeah. I do agree that sometimes the pacing is a bit slow. The mystery is intriguing, and then you're like, oh, come on, I need to know more. That would be my only criticism. But it's keeping me up at night because I just want to keep watching and yelling at the TV who I think did it and who she should trust. That is Surface on Apple TV.
I do feel like some of those Rotten Tomato reviews sometimes can be a bit brutal, like a bit harsh. Because I'm like, hey, not everything has to be super highbrow.
No,
I think,
and it's not super highbrow.
No, but it still can be entertaining and fun and just a really good escape. So, yeah, I'll check that one out. I love Hello Sunshine as well. My second recommendation is flowers. So flowers are expensive. Also, I'm not sure how great they are for the environment. But you know what? Sometimes a bunch of flowers can really brighten up your space. And I'm really into right now creating a space that's yours and creating a space for your mindset. And Aldi have $8 bunches of lilies. So super cheap.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful.
And you can even buying 2 bunches
honestly,
for $16.
Still $16. And they're pretty good sized bunches. And
But do they last long?
Yeah, they last for me, they last at least a week and a half, 2 weeks. Okay. I change the water though. I'm pretty good at changing the water, chopping the stems, how you're meant to, like on that slant.
Oh, see, I never do any of that.
Yeah, that's why they last a bit longer, I think. But I mean, they're not like a florist quality flower, but $8.
I have seen them. They're quite pretty.
Yeah, and if you buy them closed as well,
of course,
it actually gives them the chance to open up and last a bit longer. But, you know, $8 or if you want to do a bigger bunch, $16. It's just something nice to do for yourself, I think, and it really, for me, it makes my space and my apartment that little bit more special, and I think it's a nice thing to do for yourself.
Well, I'm an Aldi lover, so
much
respect.
We love Aldi.
Much respect. My recommendation is a book. It's been sitting on my bedside for ages and I finally picked it up. It's called Cactus for My Beloved. It's written by Samah Sabawi and it's this really unique and moving book because it's a novelised biography. And that means it blends actual real history with storytelling and it feels really personal and cinematic. So she's a Palestinian Australian who's writing about her father, Abdul Karim, and he's a widely published Arabic poet. But she tells the stories of his ancestors as well. So it is a combination of biography, anthropology, and historic fiction in that there are some details that she absolutely knows and then others that she had to do, sort of anthropological research to kind of piece together
and
fictionalize. So it reads like a fiction. Like it reads like, oh, these are some really interesting characters I want to get to know. But it builds to a point where the father is then born and you find out more about him. And then obviously his life, everything for him changed. He was exiled from Gaza after the Six-Day War in 1967 where, Palestinians were driven out. I think what makes this book stand out, it is the historical research, fusing the historical research with really beautiful dramatized scenes and really beautiful imagined characters. And I love that she's beautifully weaves personal history with the larger political story of Palestine. I think the reason it's been sitting on my bedside for so long, I'm like, oh.
Totally.
I know it's sad, it's traumatic, it's unfair, it's human rights atrocities, but it doesn't read like this. It doesn't read like a war novel.
I love that.
It reads about, relationships and love, and it's so, so beautiful. It was longlisted this year for the Stella Prize, and this is what they had to say about it. If there's a more important or timely book, I'm yet to come across it, 5 big shiny stars. And this is one time where I wholeheartedly agree with the review. So that is Cactus for My Beloved by Samah Sabawi. And I know you prefer to listen to a book than read it. I can only imagine. I don't know if Samah read it because not all authors read their books, but just the way it's written, it's just so beautiful. And it's a nice way to learn, I think, about Palestine in a way that doesn't feel like the world is screwed, everyone's awful, I hate this. Yeah. Because it just doesn't read like that.
That sounds like such an interesting style of writing though. Like I love that. The bio kind of with the fiction, that's cool. I've never really heard of a book
because
doing
it's
that.
not, and I guess the fictionalized part of it, because it's storytelling about people.
Yes.
It's not like remaking history or telling alternative history. So I guess the narrative and the fictionalized part of like conversations and what they were wearing and what the weather was like that time.
Yeah,
and
painting the picture, setting the scene.
Painting the picture.
Cool.
We kind of packed in a lot this week, Helen. We've got cheap flowers that make you feel good. We've got a podcast. We've got a stalker. We have someone with amnesia, and we have historialized fiction, a new genre. But that is it for this week. Thank you so much for being with us and tuning in. It's always a pleasure. If you want more of the Weekend Briefing, find us on the Listener app. Download the Listener app in the App Store and follow us there. Or you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. And I would really love to hear your thoughts on this chat with Guenther. And if you think that somebody else might enjoy it, it would be wonderful if you could just quickly hit share. We'll be back Monday morning where the team will have the latest headlines straight to your headphones along with a fascinating deep dive. Stay safe, everyone. I will catch you next week.
Listener.